by the River. We are back, and it's kind of an all-season pod, guys, where we'll talk about some of the news and notes with our Philadelphia Union. And, of course, we're going to look at what's been going on. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little bit tournament over in Qatar. It's called the World Cup, and we're going to talk about what's been going on so far. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't you dare go anywhere because you do not want to miss this episode of DOOP by the River. And let's get this started, guys. Done!
DOOP by the River
doesn't do anything well. There is not one
DOOP by the River
doesn't do anything well. There is not one.
I'm sorry. There was no creativity.
As a Union fan, I take that all day.
Another DP. We need to go get Mario Balotelli. And that is right. Welcome, everyone, to DOOP by the River, the show where we follow everything Philadelphia Union. And, of course, we are brought to you by Philly Sports Network. Before we dive into today's episode of DOOP by the River, ladies and gentlemen, welcome everybody on in. If you are watching live on El Parcero Phillies YouTube channel, thank you so much for tuning on in. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe for your future viewing of DOOP by the River. And a reminder, we are also find us where we should podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify under DOOP by the River podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, joined by with me as always is my man Justin, off-season podcaster Friedberg. Justin, first off, man, I know it's been tough with the MLS Cup and the way that it ended, but has the World Cup helped a little bit, man? What's going
on? Yeah, it's been good to get back into soccer. I do love now the start of 4 games a day for a nice stretch. It was wild to see some of the results today. But having soccer basically all day, especially for me, for Thanksgiving, where, let's be honest, the early NFL games are usually duds. So by the time the second game kicks off, we'll have plenty of, we'll have plenty of actual entertaining football to go on. So, no, honestly, this has been a fun. This will be a fun few weeks stretch. So I think it's softened the blow a bit. Just distraction.
Absolutely, and now that things have kind of calmed down in my Philadelphia sports world with the Union Philly seasons are over, having this kind of trickle in with some afternoon sports watching, it's great. I mean, dude, this is literally the drug of choice for soccer fans, as I always say, because every game is pretty damn good. And like you mentioned, you have 3-4 games a day. So it's let's get it, man. Let's get it while we have it, right? Every 4 years, Justin. You know what else too, Justin? You know what I find funny? Every 4 years, there's a crap ton of Americans who are now soccer fans. Dude, everyone's talking USA. Everyone knows soccer. What do you think? It's easy. Every 4 years, this happens, man.
Yeah, and I think especially this year, I think with how amazing the MLS Cup final was and how many those typical people that only watch it every 4 years. Well, because, MLS Cup final is November 5th and the first game was, the 20th. I think you didn't have that kind of layoff of, how they can pick up the momentum. Well, the World Cup, it picks up, and then next thing you know, MLS starts, and so I think this is a great time to kind of pick up on the momentum. So, having probably the best MLS Cup final, I think, definitely top 5 we've ever had, leading right into the World Cup was a pure happenstance stroke of luck.
Yeah, man, we definitely have benefited with the scheduling because it's definitely helped with the progression of our game here in the United States. It's been definitely great. But Justin, I do want to talk about the World Cup, but we haven't been on a week. We took a week off after the season because we deserve a little bit off time as well. But Justin, there's a couple of things I do want to discuss real quick that we haven't been able to discuss before we dive into some World Cup stuff. So first off, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Apple TV. It was dropped last week, $14.99. Well, the plan, right? So the plan for subscription right now looks like a $14.99 a month subscription or a $99 a year if you want to pay it all off. Now, if you already have Apple TV, it is going to be $12.99 a month, $79 a year. Now, If you compare this to what the other major 4 leagues offer you, it's definitely cheaper. Justin, I guess because the question is, do you think that for the first year of introducing the new streaming service for MLS fans, is this conducive for continuing the growth of our game, man?
I think so. The one caveat that this deal obviously doesn't think is for all current season ticket holders, you will get a free login for that MLS add-on. It is one per account though, so if you have multiple tickets on an account, unfortunately, it is only one account. But say you average about 15,000 season ticket holders, across all the 28 clubs at this point, and then you factor in all I think this is pretty good, and you said it is the cheapest, and in terms of the major sports. The thing that I do love, one is the standardized days and times. So the regular season games will be Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Let's go.
And 7:30 and 10:30 for the kickoff times. So having standardized times, I think, is much more conducive to kind of keeping things, because you would see it where you'd have some games at 7 and then 7:30 and then some games at 8 and 8:30 and 9 and 9:30, and it was such a weird staggered kickoff that it never made much sense to me. At least with these kickoffs, you can plan around things. You know how to work it. You can plan certain days. The fact that these are Wednesdays and Saturdays kind of makes things more interesting for Champions League, for Open Cup, for Leagues Cup. Creates a lot of interesting schedule conflicts. Schedule, is going to test a lot of depth. And I think... listen, I think the progression of the game, the progression of packages for sports leagues in general, it's going the way of streaming. I think anyone that's oh, this is going to alienate the common fan. Most people I know, I do not know many people that have cable. Streaming services are the way. I have Hulu Live TV. I know a lot of people that have Hulu Live TV or YouTube TV or Sling. I think you're seeing and also the particular group of fans that are they're getting really pulled in are people our age, people slightly older than us who have kids who are bringing their kids to the games. The days of this league soccer's going to grow momentum, and you're doing especially in the last, I'd say even 5 years, is kind of really super accelerated the progression of the sport. And at this point, looking at the way that this league has slowly been rising, I think the biggest thing that people haven't even realized is this is going to help you gain a much bigger international audience, because Apple TV is going to be available internationally. That's the one thing that, when it came to watching the game, we know people overseas who would say that in England, you basically would get either LA or New York City. There weren't many options. It was whatever they decided, and typically those were the games. So I think you've expanded yourself now to, obviously you're not going to start, oh my God, you're going to start getting everyone around the world, but it's like how Paramount Plus, I can watch, the Argentinian league, and I can watch, in ESPN, I can watch the Dutch league and the Belgian league, and even Indian soccer and AFC, qualification. I think the game it's a global game, and it's becoming more accessible for a lot more people. And I think this in general will help, especially with, international, TV rights have always been kind of especially, as someone who tries to watch CONMEBOL qualifying, and the disaster that is their TV rights. Like the fact that this standardizes the TV rights for the MLS is massive in terms of potentially gaining a small foothold in the international market.
Okay, so here's kind of my thing with it. I feel like, even like as short of a time as like 4 years ago, I don't know if I could have fit this in my budget with how expensive cost of living is. Overall, I mean, my theory in general is that we're all going to be screwed regardless, especially as sports fans, because you're all going to probably have to pay for a separate subscription to watch the NFL, the NBA, and MLS, etc. Right? So I think in general, we're all just going to have to suck it up, and we're going to have to pay for these subscriptions. I guess my main concern, and it was something we talked about before when this was all announced, was the casual fan. Look, I'm not saying that like we should prioritize that, because at the end of the day, if you like the product, you will watch it, right? But like, someone who just watched the MLS Cup, like let's say we gained a lot of new fans, right, Justin, over this MLS Cup here in Philadelphia. Some of these new fans who are used to watching the Phillies, the Sixers, the Flyers on NBC Sports Philly, watching the Birds on Fox, ESPN, whatever it may be, now having to tell these guys, hey, you want to watch the Union this weekend? Well, you kind of need Apple TV. And how that will go about. I think at the end of the day, the situation, time will tell how successful this will be. I mean, the TV numbers have been spectacular, even for the World Cup. I mean, JT's been dropping the World Cup numbers. We've been killing it. I think we were top 5 market for the U.S. game. Fantastic. We were the number 1 market regional-wise for the MLS Cup as well. So that's great as well. So I think with this situation, time will tell. But we now know. We now know what the guidelines are, how much you have to pay. Apple TV's here, guys. And next thing I think, Justin, now is we want to see what the production will look like. Who's going to call these games? What will pregame, postgame show look like? So I think that's going to be the next step here for us, Justin.
I think so. I'm assuming that you're probably going to pull a lot of the best guys. Like obviously JP is probably going to be high on that list. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming maybe the some of the Fox guys like Rob and Stu and John Strong. Like I think the names maybe like a Tony Miola, Brian Dunseth. Like I mean, you're gonna pull names. I mean, they are doing that roundabout Golazo show kind of style show. So I think that is gonna be massive. I think that's more like, at least for me, when I watch Champions League stuff in Europa League, having that Golazo show is super helpful, so that I can it'll take me from game to game to game, and it'll cut to a game if there's a goal, or like it bounces around. And it gives you a nice opportunity. And I understand the whole idea of losing the casual fan, but I think even the casual fans now are, again, I've been saying this, it's going the way of streaming. And and I think especially people our age and younger are really pushing, the people that are paying those bills, our parents and the younger parents, like they're pushing, push towards soccer. So I think at the end of the day, it's not going to be as bad as people think it is. And
Right.
If people are going to want to watch soccer, they're going to find the way. And it's also might encourage more people to get season tickets, because, as I said, if season ticket holders get that free subscription, so that's a bonus. You don't have to pay that potentially $80 a year.
So there's just the moral of the story is get your season tickets, ladies and gentlemen. 1-800-unitix.com. I don't know what number it is.
I mean, it's not a bad idea, and at the very least, that and like I said, it's as the game's growing, the season ticket holders, it's going to be I think you're going to see a increase in season ticket holders leading up to 2026. I think it's going to be a nice progression upwards.
Union sales department, we would like to take some commission as well if you guys can.
Oh no, don't worry. I know some people in the ticket office. I'll make sure our demands are set.
We know people, Justin. We know people. Justin, let's move forward here. Paxton Aronson, done deal. Looked really good in the Eintracht Frankfurt kit. $4 million plus incentives, plus of course the almighty sell-on clause. Any final thoughts on as Paxton is leaving Philadelphia, or he's actually in Frankfurt now?
I think that's a 4 million's a pretty high number considering
Right.
like people are like, oh, of course I my dad is always kind of, he's a Union fan, but he's always kind of late on the news, obviously, because we're in deep in a lot of it, and he goes, oh, 4 million, that seems low. I'm like, well, you got to factor in that price is absolutely boosted by his performance in the U20, the CONCACAF, championship. Like, they absolutely balled out. They got the spot to the Olympics. In the few moments he did play, he did look good. But I think, especially this season, this was supposed to be the year that he stepped up, and Daniel Gosdek stepped up in in bucket loads. So 4 million as a base is a nice one. Then including the incentives that, from what I've heard, are not like crazy hard in terms to hit. So that number will go up, and a 20% sell on calls, which I think might be higher than Brendan's, if I
That's crazy.
or in that ballpark. Like 20%, that's a big chunk of change that could, for potentially for future. And it goes to a team where, like, Frankfurt are one of those teams where I think I've mentioned their name with, like, Kai or Brew, like a lot of players that could go over there, because they are able to blend that young talent with some solid
Santos
veterans.
Borré from Colombia, baby.
Yeah, having Mario Götze, who's
Dude, I
really
can't believe he's there, man.
who's had a resurgence, back in his career. People forget the veteran, attacker Kamada, the Japanese international. He again playing his way into another. He's just like, people forget about him, and he just keeps balling out. That defense has been like slowly settling. I think in the way they play, I think Paxton could easily come, the break, especially with the World Cup. Who knows what injuries will happen? Who knows what players will be sold? I think Paxton going in there and now getting this month or so to really settle into the team, I think it's a perfect time for him to get in there. So
yeah,
I may have to, I may have to add that to the list of, needing to get a Brendan Leeds jersey. Might need to get a Paxton Frankfurt jersey. Like, I swear this team, the Union homegrowns are going to bleed me dry with other teams' jerseys.
You still need that Fontana. You still need that different. No, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say, listen, no, that's gonna be difficult to find. Just like everyone who had difficulty getting a Mackenzie Genk jersey, which I have not gotten because I've heard of how insanely difficult I heard the shipping process was. So
I bet it is, man. Real quick, have you checked out the Brendan Aronson Ted Lasso mural thing at
no. The funny thing is, I know exactly where that is. Like,
I would have never guessed it, dude. Never would have guessed it there, man.
the funniest, like, that kind of like that building is like kind of tucked in off of 70,
right?
And like I was kind of over there, and like actually yesterday, my dentist is right on Medford Main Street, so like I kept seeing people like going over there, and I'm like wait, that barn looks oddly familiar. And then it started like getting like men in blazers, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know exactly where that building is. Like, yeah,
I got emotional, Justin. I honestly, when I was there, I got a little emotional, because we see Brendan Aronson as a pup, and dude, it's really cool seeing what he's become, man. He's one of the faces of this national team, dude.
Yeah, as soon as he popped onto the field, I was just like, man, a kid from Medford, New Jersey.
It's wild, man.
Is repping the red, white, and blue in the biggest stage. I'm like,
it's beautiful, man.
I'm like, a decade ago, that would have been a crazy thought.
For real, man. For real. I want to say hello real quick to Ivan. What's going on, brother? How about that Gareth Bale haunting the U.S. in the World Cup, like on fans in the final? Yeah, we touched on that in the beginning, man. Dude, Gareth Bale. Yeah, listen to what Kevin can. It's true. Listen, Gareth Bale, top 5 Philly sports villain, dude. I can't stand that, man. I can't believe you did that to us, and in the World Cup, U.S.
Yeah, God, It's yeah. Gareth Bale is high on my shit list.
For real, man. For real. Next bit of news, Berkey, he's off to Red Bull. A little bit shocking, the news, because the Union apparently were in negotiations with him, but obviously Red Bull were able to offer a little bit more, a 2-year deal with an option for a 3rd year. Money has not been announced. Did you see something, Justin, about money? Because I didn't find anything about the money.
No, I don't think it was necessarily money. I think it was the deal. I don't think the Union were
Years.
prepared to offer a 3rd year.
Okay. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I do think that we could find an upgrade from Corey Burke, but it's not really even about that. It's not even about him going to the Red Bull. I've even seen that. Like, I put out that poll, and people saying no, or people saying that they would boo Corey Burke. Like that. I mean, come on, guys. At the end of the day, this is a business. But again, like we talked about Brendan, right, Justin? Like Corey Burke's story in its own, it's beautiful as well, dude. Coming over from Jamaica, growing with Bethlehem Steel. I actually saw a clip of Justin. Little Brendan wearing 63 in the Bethlehem Steel with Corey Burke. Dude, that really gave me some serious flashbacks. But yeah, he's going over there to Red Bull, and it's really all about, listen, he's 30 years old. Do what you got to do, man. Much love, much respect. When you come here, though, for 90 minutes, whether you're starting or not, or how much time you play, you are the enemy. But, man, I just can't be more prouder of Corey Burke, brother.
Yeah, listen, I think the fact that, again, the biggest thing was that the Union weren't going to offer him that 3rd year. I can totally get it. I mean, he's not going to be the starter here. It was going to be more of the same. I think Red Bull gives him that chance to absolutely be the starter. It's a similar system. He knows what to expect. I think the Union, like, as much as it is disappointing, I think the solace you can take is that, one, there are, like, this offseason, there's a lot of big name, well-known MLS vets like a Tesho Akindele, an Ola Kamara, a Will Bruin. There's some guys that could fit the system. I think Ola Kamara would be high on my list because, I mean, people forget he's 2 seasons removed now, or even 1 season removed from tying for the Golden Boot with Tati. He fits that pressing system. I think you need that veteran presence. You need someone that is gonna not get in the way of a Riasco, a Marcus Zambrano in the next few years. And I think I don't know if Corey would have kind of stunted that growth with some of these players. Listen, for having Corey since the beginning, I respect the hell out of him. He had a very nice message to the fan, like, listen, it is a business, and I respect him for chasing that bag and getting what he thinks is best for him. And I've said that with like when Casper left, like, you do what's best for your career. It sucks when you leave, but at the end of the day, it is a business. It is your job, and you do what's best for what works for you and your family. And it's good, like he has to go very far at the end of the day.
I was gonna say a little 2-hour drive to North Jersey.
But like, no, I respect it. Like, obviously, yeah, for 90 minutes, I'm gonna boo you, but I still respect the hell out of him, especially that listen, that goal to cement the Eastern Conference Final win will still lives, will be in a top 5 Union moment for me of all time, and Corey Burke will never have to buy a beer at the Larimer ever when he retires and comes back here. I know that for certain.
Absolutely, man. Corey, we love you, man. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. We'll see you very, very soon. But it's unfortunate that you mentioned that, because I wanted to finish off Union Notes by talking a little bit about the presser last Friday. Jim talked about some very telling things. First bit of tidbit that I took away from that presser, Justin. So obviously we have a lot of competitions next year, right? So apparently what Ernst is saying, the player pool is going to increase this year to 27 to 28 players. And apparently they are looking at center back, midfielder, and another attacker. Does that get your juices going, Justin?
Yeah, listen, I think you need the loss of Stuart Finley midseason was big. I think obviously you didn't need Brendan Craig or to step in, but he was ready, but I still think he is young. I still think he could use some time to really get into it. So, I mean, it's always nice to have that third spatter back, especially again with the increase in games this year. You're gonna need that depth. The midfielder, we've been talking about it. It's got to be an Ali Bedoya, looking in the future replacement. Because listen, Ali, he's coming back for the next year, but I think this has got to be it. Like, I think he's coming back knowing that they still have most of the team to really run it back. But I think if you want the most out of him, you're going to need to give him some help. And you really don't have a true Ali replacement. Jack McGlynn is more of a Regista type player, and he absolutely, I think, will get more minutes this year. But I think if you're going to have Ali involved, you need to give him a little bit of bit of help and a little bit of rest. And getting an attacking player, I mean, it seemed kind of obvious when even it was. We still don't know what the evolution of Chris Donovan is going to be. We don't know how Jose Riasco or Quinn Sullivan. I think getting that veteran or getting the player that can help provide those minutes and at least provide some of that additional leadership will be big. But I loved that Ernest and Jim were both like, yeah, we're not patting ourselves on the back and saying great job and just sticking with what we got. No, we know what the increased workload is next year. We know what the fans want, and the fact that they were like, hey, we want to run it back, and here's the positions we think are needed. And I think there's positions very much so that need to be addressed in terms of depth. So yeah, you know what? I loved the fact that they were like, you know what? We're not settling. We're moving forward. And that is absolutely it. It gives me, a lot of hope for the off season. And in my head now, I'm starting to run through the possibilities of the types of players that they need, and it kind of gives me something to look forward to until the World Cup is over and the jerseys start dropping.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it is true. That is true. I think what I'm interested about, because when I hear center back, right? Because obviously you got Glazes, you got Elliott. To me, I want to see some Brandon Craig. Like, I want to see some more from Craig, and I think that he can be your third guy. So like, I feel like this would be like a veteran guy, someone that you can rotate.
It's going to be the
interchange,
not a Ryan Collin type vet, but it's probably going to be a vet that has been around enough. Someone probably in like, I don't know, late 20s, like or 30s, like not someone who is kind of washed up, but someone who a journeyman, someone who can give you those solid minutes. Based on the press conference as well, they did talk about formation changes, potentially a back three, which I've said for the while that the Union would excel in a back three. And I think if you're going to have a back three, it means that you're going to need some center back depth, because I think Brandon Craig can, have the athleticism for that. But I think you're also going to need some rotation and some ability to, have guys, get rest. So I think it's not so much a lack of trust in Brandon Craig. I think it's understanding that having your third center back be an untested young center back is something that most teams would go, yeah, I think we should shore that up a little bit just to kind of allow him the time to progress.
Hey, we threw Mark McKenzie and Austin Trusty in the fire. I'm just kidding. Yeah. So with that tactical flex, I loved hearing that, because I do think that if you were a little bit more flexible tactically, you could bring in Quinn Sullivan more. That's one thing I didn't understand. Like, I do get, like, you brought in Carranza and you brought in Ure, and like that would change some things, but Sullivan's minutes decreased significantly this past year, and I do think he fits more in an attacking role. We've seen him play as a shuttler because of that, but that, to me, he needs to be part of the attack going forward, especially in the rotation.
Yeah, I think part of that too was after the trade of Sergio was Corey stepping up I think a lot of people did not see that coming. So the fact that I think now that you, even if with an attacker, I think it's going to be a competition. Players are going to get plenty of minutes, and especially with the amount of games that are going to be played this year. So I think you'll see Quinn get more time than he did last year.
We shall see, man. We shall see. It's going to be a fun off season. Obviously, we will be keeping you guys up to date with everything that happens and all the rumors. So make sure you guys are subscribed to Dupe by the River. All right, Justin, it's your time to shine, brother. What happened, dude? What happened, man? We're going to talk about this. U.S., Wales, 1-1 draw. Justin, I'm going to let you take this away, brother. Just kind of tell us what the F happened. How did we draw to Wales?
So Wales operates in essentially a back five, and the U.S. dominated possession in the first half. They had a lot of obviously the better chances. The problem was, was getting in those 1-2 passes and breaking down and getting in behind when they were able to, and it took them a little bit to get in behind. They started forcing chances. They forced a save off of almost an own goal. Josh Sargent hits the post. A lot of back and forth, and then Christian Pulisic plays with a nice interchange. Plays in Tim Weah with a beautiful touch through the middle. I mean, it was exactly what they needed the one moment, and it opens up the scoring. I think Christian Pulisic didn't have his best game. I think it was clear there sometimes he was missing that through ball right away. If he wouldn't pick his head up, and you'd see that runner. And if he had picked his head up, that ball would have been played and it would have been in on net. The second half, the U.S. was on the back foot. I think they were defending well. The PK, it's a foul. Walker Zimmerman did not have to do that. I think
that was bad, man. That's
a play where you body him up and you force him to pass that ball back, because I don't think he's going to allow him to turn. So I think that's a kind of a learning curve. I think Tim Ream had a very solid game. I think for the true vet of the team, and the guy with the oldest guy on the team, and it wasn't even the guy who had the most experience. That was DeAndre Yedlin, who was the only player who was at the last World Cup the U.S. qualified for. Brendan Aronson coming on and providing a huge spark right away. I mean, he was hounding that Wales midfield and they were forcing a number of yellow cards. Unfortunately, Haji Wright wasn't really able to get into the game. I think by that point, the U.S. was forcing it. Overall, it was a slightly disappointing result. I mean, you still got a point. That was massive. The officiating, I say, absolutely terrible. The ref, a lot of silly calls, stopping the play for injuries that weren't head injuries. I mean, he was consistent about it, but I did not understand why he was doing that specific thing. The yellow cards, giving 2 yellow cards to I understand Weston's was, but the first one really wasn't, and it took a while for Wales to be given that first yellow, and I think the disparity of the calls was massive. It threw off the momentum of the game. I don't think either team was really able to get into a particular groove because of the poor officiating, and unfortunately, that's that can kind of throw off a game massively when the ref is dictating the game in not a great manner. And listen, I think it would have been great to get 3 points. I think obviously at this point you put that aside and you turn your attention now to a massive game against England on Friday. I think people looked at and went, "Oh, they beat Iran 6-2." Well, I don't think England is that great or Iran is that bad. I mean, Iran is the 20th ranked team in the world, so I don't think that truly shows how good or bad they are. So I think this will be an interesting test of two managers who may not have jobs come the next World Cup. So we'll see. It's I think this group is not considered the group of death by any means. But I think this is a group that was going to be tough from the onset. It was not going to be an easy qualification for anybody.
So nobody joined our Dupe by the River group chat because it's literally just a bunch of dudes yelling to fire the national team manager.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's us telling Berhalter to get fired, and it's Steve telling for Southgate to get fucked.
And I just want a manager. I just want a manager. That's pretty much how we're living.
Listen, I'm gonna call it shocker. LP is gonna come. Gonna be the Colombian national team manager, and when he comes back and leads the Colombian national team to the World Cup, it'll be his hand of God moment.
I already asked Jim if he was interested. I already pitched my pitch to Jim, and he denied. So I tried Colombia. I tried to get us a legit manager, but it didn't. Like, what's up, bro? We miss you, man. We need Jesus to score a brace against England.
I am curious if there there will be some rotation. I don't think the MMA midfield will come in against England.
Dude, I love he's fun to watch.
I will be curious though if any of the front three get rotated because Tim Weah looked good.
Yeah, he did.
Christian Pulisic was getting kicked around, so I'm curious if he gets put out. And I mean, Josh Sargent didn't look bad. I mean, he had some moments in the first half, but then it kind of tapered off. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Absolutely, man. Drummond, I can't believe Burke is gone. Drummond, you just missed it. We just discussed it, man. Listen, we love him. We'll be loved, man. He's going to be one of those players you will forever remember, man. But hey, chase that bag, as Justin said. Chase that mother effing bag. Yeah, Justin. Gio Reyna. Any thoughts of why he didn't go out there at all? Injury? I mean, he said he was fine.
I did hear something that he might have a slight knock. I was surprised that he didn't come on as a sub. I mean, I guess though I understood because Serginho Dest was on a yellow, and Weston McKennie was, and Weston McKennie, he was also kind of struggling towards the end when he was in. I thought I had heard might have had a slight knock, but it is kind of surprising if it didn't. If he's available for the England game, he has to come off the bench. I would not see why he wouldn't, but with Berhalter, who knows, man? It's who knows with Berhalter these days? I surely fucking don't.
All right, so kind of piggy off of a Twitter post I put out there. Do you think if Berhalter were to come back to the MLS, he would be successful again? Or would his mindset just not catch up with today's MLS?
I mean, I think he's a better club manager than a national team manager. I think his style, the method that he's been trying to run, is something that you can do at the club level. It's why like people would say that like Pep would be a great national team manager, and I'm like, not really, because you're not going to be able to pull Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland into the same national team. Like, I think there's some that work great with parts, and I think Berhalter, when he's able to pull the pieces together, is a good manager. So I think he could come back to the league. Like I said, I definitely think he's absolutely a better club manager than a national team manager.
I mean, I agree. I mean, obviously depends on the situation in which he would go to, but I feel like he would be good. Look, I don't think he would be someone that if Jim would leave, the Union would look at. I think that the Union would be looking within, or Ernst probably has someone like in his like radar like some young mind that no one knows about in Europe. But we'll have to wait to see till that day comes. But it was definitely interesting to see. But one thing that did annoy me though, Justin, was like, you hear like these Euro snobs, they just bring the whole MLS narrative because Morris gets subbed in, because DeAndre Yedlin gets subbed in. It's like, this is why you don't play MLS players in the World Cup. And it's like, dude, it literally has nothing to do with that. Those were bad subs in the bad spot. It had nothing to do with the league they played in, man. That's just the way I looked at it.
Yeah, and are they also forgetting that DeAndre Yedlin had a pretty successful stint with Newcastle and in Turkey before he came back to the MLS? So, like, don't let that fit into their bullshit narrative.
I mean, Tim Weah. I mean, listen, it's a youth product, but I mean, Tim Weah went through the MLS system. He's part of the Red Bull Academy before he got sold off to PSG.
Weston is Tyler Adams, Matt Turner. Is I'm like, I think you can't. Josh Sargent even came through. Was it St. Louis? I know he's not like when they had a USL side. Like, I think to that narrative is absolutely ridiculous.
Okay. Drummond, I hate to say it, but U.S. will not advance in the knockout round. They will lose to England and beat Iran. Wales will beat Iran, and then last game, England will already be through and will draw.
I think that's bold to assume that England is not going to want to step up and thrash Wales. I think that's a grudge match, and I don't think that's an easy. And I think again, England. I looking at them again. If you're like, oh, U.S. is gonna get stomped, it's looking at that. It's like I looking at that game. I do not see how like the Iran game is not a good test of how England is, and I don't think I think if the game gets ugly, I think the U.S. excels in those ugly games, and I think they're going to draw. I thought they were going to beat Wales, but I think they can draw. They can draw England. I don't understand why England's putting this high on a pedestal.
Okay, but if the U.S. just hypothetical, if the U.S. does not qualify, is this truly a setback for the national team?
Because I mean this is a young squad. I think this group was going to be challenging. I think that second spot, I think everyone assumes England is going to the first spot, and I think that's a good assumption. But I think that second spot was going to be a tough ask. So who knows? And I mean that's also throwing Iran completely out of the way. Like Iran could go in, and I think their striker had both goals. Their striker's pretty good. I think you're overlooking that Iran team. I think I would not be surprised if Iran beat Wales. I think people keep overlooking them. It would not surprise me.
Is Iran really ranked 40 or would you say 20th in FIFA rankings?
Yeah, they're a top 25 side.
Annoying. That is so annoying. I hate Carlos Queiroz. I really hate that man. Screw that dude.
Literally, it's second time in charge, I think.
Oh, dude, he literally did not he didn't do anything to help us qualify for the World Cup. Leaves Colombia, and then he gets his Iran team again. Whatever, man. It is what it is. It's so annoying. So all right. So real quick, what do you think will happen on Friday? Black Friday. That's a great Black Friday matchup, by the way, against England.
Yeah, I genuinely it's a solid matchup. I think it's a great, post Turkey Day game. I think it's gonna be. It is gonna be a nail biter. I think it's something that it will be very, very back and forth. I think it'd be 2-2, a 2-2 draw. I think there'll be a bit of there absolutely be some goals, and I think if the game is very open, I think that fits the U.S. very well in terms of having a free flowing game.
Justin, have you checked up on our boy Kevin Show?
I have not.
Rough.
He may be he may be in the fetal position somewhere because he thought that our Argentina would distract him from his SKC side. I'm sure we'll need to put
That's
some
some bad
feelers
luck,
out to
man.
to make sure that he isn't still still crying in the corner.
I just don't get how they can't get it together, man. I don't know. That's a rough. I don't think I've in my lifetime so I've been watching the World Cup since '06, right? I don't think I've witnessed an upset like this. I mean, can you remember one? I guess in your because I'm sure you watched '02.
Yeah, but
Young.
like the USA beating Mexico, like their run to the to the quarters. I think, or semis, I believe it. I think that was a not a massive upset, but I think it was big at the time. I think this is probably arguably the biggest upset I've seen to date.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And then my last question here, Justin. Is Memo Ochoa the best goalkeeper in CONCACAF history? That was a nice save, man. Against Lewandowski?
No, I think he's a great goalie. I absolutely do not think he is the best goalie in CONCACAF history. I think Keylor Navas would like some words, and I think Andre Blake, and I think
Andre Blake.
well, no, I think Memo Ochoa is arguably one of the top goalies. I think one top in terms of World Cup goalies all time. I mean, I hate the man for a lot of reasons, but I no, he's one of the best. He is one of the best goalies in CONCACAF history. Definitely not the best. I think Tim Howard would also like some words.
Absolutely, man. Drama, that's wrong. That's really wrong, dude. If it wants to up on the screen. Did it pop up? Okay, here we go. That's really wrong.
Oh,
That was really wrong. Did you really have to go there, huh? You really have to go there.
that's a bad pull for a lot of reasons.
Oh, dude, man. Wow, Drummond, we're really gonna end on that note, huh? No, I'm just kidding, man. I was gonna say something to you. Oh, Justin, I will say this. I know how you feel about Memo Ochoa, but I remember because I watched a little bit of it with my girlfriend. We did see that penalty kick. It is kind of cool that we did get to witness Memo Ochoa in person. Like I feel like 15 years down the line, I'm gonna be telling my kids I was right front row watching Memo Ochoa beat my union, our union. All right, he's gonna be my family, our union. But it's pretty cool. That is pretty cool, Justin. If you kind of think about it.
Yeah, listen, I will say absolutely, I despise him for a number of reasons.
I get it, man.
But I like it's one of those yeah, it's cool to say I got to watch him in person. And listen, he is one of the best goalies in CONCACAF. I think he's someone who I think will have to step up because I do not think that team is going to score a lot. I think it's asking a lot, really. I think the only real piece of attacking threat they have is Chucky Lozano. I mean, Raul Jimenez is absolutely not a shade of the striker he has been. I think watching that game, Poland had way better of the chances. And I still don't think Mexico gets out of their group. I just think their lack of scoring is going to be a big hindrance on them.
Absolutely, man. Drummond, no worries, man. No worries. I'll say this: that match in the World Cup is probably the darkest day in Colombian soccer. There's nothing that will ever trump that day. And considering what happened after that tournament as well. But if you're an American, I understand that was a very big deal back because a lot of people had Colombia as one of the favorites to win the World Cup. USA really had no chance in that one, and they played a really good game, and they deserved that win on that day. So just a little history remembrance, man. But Justin, man, it's gonna be a fun World Cup, man. And it sucks because I was looking forward to watching Olivier, which I don't know if Olivier will. I know he doesn't always start for Cameroon. but I wanted to watch it, and then I saw 5 a.m. I was like, Olivier, I love you, buddy, but I gotta sleep.
Yeah, that's like I have off of work tomorrow, and I was looking, and I'm like, let me see what the games are, and I'm like, if the 5 a.m. game is decent, I might at least watch like the second half. I might wake up my usual alarm, and then I looked, it was Morocco and Croatia, and I'm like, nah, I'm good, fam. I'm gonna sleep in because the 8 o'clock game, Germany Japan. Now that's the game I want to watch.
Yes, that's gonna be a lot of fun. Spain and Costa Rica should be fun as well. So we'll be definitely watching that. I think it's 11 o'clock game.
And Belgium, Canada, I think that'll be a
Yes.
very interesting afternoon game. I am very like, as much as I joke that I said that I don't think Mexico will advance in terms of CONCACAF. Like, I always want to see the CONCACAF teams advance. Like, I think that's
For
the,
sure.
for the region. I think for the better of the region in the soccer, I think it would be good for them, and I will be interested to see how Belgium handles Alfonso Davies and Jonathan David and Kyle Larin. Like, they got some serious firepower, and
they're hungry, dude. They're hungry.
Yeah, this will be interesting, and there is a union union tie to Canada. Their center back Stephen Vittoria, and that's a name that I'm for the Union OGs, myself, Mike Thomas. I absolutely know someone like Mike Thomas knows that name.
He definitely knows.
That man, his time here wasn't the best, but hey, he was here for a season.
Dude, that's what we do for you on this podcast, guys. We bring out names like Steve Victoria. Like, that's what we do here on Dude by the River.
Yeah,
so it should be a lot of fun. Should be a lot of fun. Make sure you guys check them out. Check out the World Cup, guys. Enjoy it, man. It's here every 4 years, so please take that all in. But to do it for this episode of Dude by the River, we're going to continue bringing you some off-season stuff. We have a nice interview next week, which I'm excited to show you guys. It's going to be a fun, relaxed one. So make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys hit this like button. Subscribe for more live viewings. We're available on Apple, Google, Spotify. Find us under Dude by the River podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Justin, off-season podcaster Friedberg. I am El Parcero Philly. And we're telling you guys,